Welcome back, everyone. So now comes to the most difficult day one deck I've had to build thus far. My boy, Elder Toguro. I absolutely love this character. I love everything he does, but he is such a toolbox character that is so simple yet so complex in his simplicity that doing a day zero off top of your head kind of build for him is an absolute struggle. This isn't the build I'm working on for my own competitive forays. I still want to tweak that one and keep that a little close to the vest. But this was a fun idea that I thought we could do for Elder Toguro. So without further ado, let's get into it. Elder Toguro is a 7-hand size, 20 health character with the death, evil, and life symbols. This will be an evil symbol build, although trust me, I am working on builds for every one of his symbols. Multiple, in fact. Like I said, favorite character, he's going to be my most play. He has a form once per turn. Discard one non-foundation card, so asset, action, attack, character, if you want to go that far. Choose one attack in your discard pile and try to play it as your next form. So you can make any of these cards into any of these cards. And we'll see some fun synergy there throughout. Then he has an enhance. Switch this attack's speed and damage. If it is your rival's turn, destroy one foundation. So he is spooky on face for all attacks, sometimes at the cost of a foundation. So, speaking of attacks, first up we have Finger Daggers. A 4 difficulty, 3 control, 3 mid for 6 with a +2 high block. It's got Fury, ranged, and weapon. It says enhance. If this attack deals damage, draw 1 card. 3 mid is pretty easy to block. 6 mid, however, is a little bit more difficult, especially if we can put more speed on it. So being able to swap this to a 3 mid 6, that, you know, your opponent's going to have to commit quite a bit to stop that 3 damage, and it has to be completely blocked or you get to draw a card, is pretty good. And then probably one of my favorite cards of this new set, Shape-Shifting Impalement. A 5 difficulty, 3 control, 7 mid for 3, +2 mid block. It's got the Echo and Fury keywords. It says enhance. If this attack was played from anywhere other than your hand, your rival automatically loses 1 health. This can reduce them to 0. Very important. So you use Elder Toguro's form to play this from your discard pile, they lose a health. You echo it, they lose a health. So with just those 2 abilities, you're auto-losing your opponent 2 extra health that they can't really block unless they can cancel the enhance. And then it says, if this attack deals damage, gain 2 health. We are a squishy little 7-hander with 20 health. So gaining that health back is going to be a boon for us. And at 7 mid, that's going to be hard for your opponent to catch. This is probably one that unless your opponent's hand is empty, you're not going to be swapping the speed and damage on. Next up we have Blue Flame Immolation, a 5 difficulty, 3 control, 4 high for 5 with a +2 high block, the charged and ranged keywords. It says enhance card pool, lose 1 health. Your rival makes a check against a 5. If they fail, this attack gets +1 speed and +1 damage. So being able to put more speed and damage on any of these moves, this becomes a 4 mid for 7 or a 7 mid for 4. This becomes an 8 mid for 4. Being able to just stack extra damage and speed while cutting maybe the bad cards off the top of your opponent, or the good cards off the top of your opponent's deck. If they do hard check the 5, that's maybe a 5 they don't get to check when they block you. And you can flip this to be a 5 mid or a 5 high for 4. Really boost the speed of all your attacks to make sure that they're hitting. And it has Deadlock Response, Card Pool. After you lose health to pay a cost, your rival loses 1 health. Also, this can kill them. It's a very, very dangerous deadlock, especially if you have a lot of costs to pay. So your opponent will not want to go into deadlock, but when you're throwing all of these high-speed moves, they're going to have to pick and choose what they block at that point. And then we have probably the most flavorful card in the deck, a cheeky one of Rando's Spirit Gun. A 5 difficulty, 2 control, 5 mid for 5 with a +1 mid block, with charge, EX2, ranged, and powerful 4. It says, enhance. If this attack has received a speed and damage bonus, this attack gets +2 speed and +2 damage. Blue Flame Immolation. If your opponent does not check that 5, this can become a 6 mid 6 and then an 8 mid 8. And then Enhance, you may play once per turn abilities on your character a second time this turn, only playable if this card is immediately preceded by an attack or a face down card. So you're allowed to play this form twice, turning any attack you don't want to play into an attack you do want to play, maybe another shape-shifting impalement. You know, maybe you play a shape-shifting impalement, echo it, flip it. Then you play Rando Spirit Gun using your form, discarding, one of your assets. Then you're allowed to then play maybe another shape-shifting impalement from your discard pile by discarding another card. So really being able to just add more and more to what you want to do, playing your attacks from your discard pile. Really, really fun, and just kind of a mean little thing to do. But one of the first attacks I thought of when I thought of Elder Toguro, before I even saw any of his stuff, was Deadly Fire. This is a 6 difficulty, 3 control, 4 mid for 7, with a +1 low block. It's got ranged and tech, and this can be played off of 2 symbols, either death or evil. And it says, response, after you play this card, if a card has been played from anywhere other than your hand this turn, draw 1 card. Discard a card, play Deadly Fire from your discard pile, draw a card. So what could really be fun is discarding Deadly Fire to then play Deadly Fire as maybe your first form of the turn, so then you draw another card, and you basically just played this for like you would from your hand, but you also get to draw an extra card. And then it says, Enhance, if this attack speed is 7 or more, your rival loses 3 health. Again, this does not stop your opponent from going to 0, and you can just switch the speed and damage of this attack to make it a 7 speed move. So he is allowed to play this card incredibly well to either force that auto burn for 3, draw that extra card, and really just put your opponent in a tight spot. And of course, what evil character is complete without Vile Seizing? A 4 difficulty, 3 control, 3 high for 4 with a +1 high block. It's got Breaker 1 and Fury. It says, Enhance, your rival makes a check against a difficulty of 7. If they fail, draw 1 card, and this attack gets +2 damage. So this can be either a 3 high for 6, or you can swap the damage and speed to make this a 4 high for 5. Again, just trying to push as much speed through to try to make sure that all your attacks hit, or just make it as middling as possible so your opponent really doesn't know what they want to do about it. And then a Deadlock Enhance, your rival's checks get -2 for the rest of the turn. So if your opponent goes into Deadlock, this is a really good way to just make sure that you can keep all of your stuff, damage-based, switching the speed and damage on Shape-Shifting Impalement, so it can do 7 damage instead, however you may wish to do that. And finally, we've got Compression Sphere, which is a fun Mr. Compress card. A 5 difficulty, 3 control, 4 high for 6 with a +2 mid-block. It's got Charge, EX2, and Ranged. And it says, response, after you block with this card, your rival discards 1 momentum and loses 1 health. This effect cannot reduce your rival below 1 health. So that sucks, but it is a little bit of extra chip damage if you're burning them defensively. And then Enhance, if either player has lost 2 or more health this turn, this attack gains Stun 2. So you could flip this and have it be a 6 high 4 with Stun 2. Especially after following something like a Deadly Fire, or playing Shape-Shifting Impalement from your discard pile and then echoing it. That's 2 health right there, even if your attack doesn't connect. So what you could do is Compression Sphere, if your opponent's lost 2 health already, EX2 for this card, a whole bunch, 2, 4, 6 speed, give it Stun 2, make them commit 2 foundations, and then swap the speed and damage so that you're a 6 high for 8, 9, or 8, 10, maybe even 12, depending on what your momentum looks like. So this could turn itself into a pretty cool kill card if need be. Moving into non-attacks, we have our assets, starting with Aerie. She's adorable, and I love her as a character. I hate her as a card, mainly because I build a lot of decks for my locals, and whenever I can, I put in one Aerie, and they always seem to draw at turn 1 against me, and I am tired of this little girl telling me to try it again. But she's a 2 difficulty, 5 control with a +3 low block. She's got ally and unique. She says, as a static, at the start of your end phase, ready 1 non-unique foundation or asset that was not ready during this turn's combat phase. So you can go into your opponent's turn with one more ready resource. And then as a response, remove discard 1 momentum. Before the damage step of your rival's attack, reduce its damage to your current health -1 to a minimum of 1. So if you're at 2 health, they do 1 damage. And for someone like Elder Toguro, who's faked his own death and, you know, just really loves to play that, oops, you thought you had me kind of game, I thought Aerie is poetic. Then we've got Twisting Surroundings, a 3 difficulty, 5 control with a +2 mid block. It's got Breaker 2 and Terrain. It says enhance, discard 1 momentum, change the zone of this attack to any other zone, playable while committed, playable by either player. So you can switch the speed and damage of your opponent's attack to make it easier to block, and then change its zone so that you can fully block it if need be. And then response, commit, after your rival makes a check to play an attack, that check gets -2, failing the check will not end the combat phase. So depending on how badly you hack their check, either this can just make them give up the attack altogether, or commit extra resources so that they can't block your incredibly fast moves on your turn. And then lastly, we've got League of Villains for our assets, a 4 difficulty, 4 control with a +2 low block, ally and unique keywords. It's got 2 responses, the first of which is commit 1 foundation. After your rival plays an enhance ability on an attack or a foundation, cancel it. There's a lot of very strong enhances on attacks in this set, and in the game proper, so being able to cancel one of those at a critical point is really, really powerful. And then response, after your rival plays an ability on a committed foundation, they lose 1 health. Tenacious is all over this set and Jet Burn. So this effect, which can reduce your opponent to 0, is incredibly critical in forcing your opponent to decide what effects they really, really want to use and what they're willing to cut themselves for. And again, this health loss, if done on your turn, can fuel Compression Sphere to give it plus stun 2. Really, really good. Moving on to actions, we have, of course, Barrier Shield. 2 difficulty, 5 control with a +2 high block, the ally keyword. It says as a static, it does not count towards progressive difficulty. I've only depended on that ability once, playing it for a Twisting Azure Inferno combo. And yeah, that is the only time that that's going to be relevant, because it says enhance, remove, reduce this attack speed to 0. The next card you play this turn gets Breaker 2. So you can reduce the speed to 0 and Breaker 2 block your opponent, or let's say for some reason Barrier Shield's the last card in your hand. You can reduce your opponent's attack speed to 0 and then destroy one of your own foundations to swap their speed and damage so their damage is now 0 and take no damage there. And then another enhance, your rival cannot add cards to their hand during this attack due to their non-character effects. Again, I don't see that being entirely useful. And then we've got two copies of Runaway. A 5 difficulty, 4 control with a +5 mid block. It says response, lose X health. Before the damage step of your rival's unblocked attack, it deals no damage. Add the top card of your rival's discard pile to their card pool. X equals the attack's printed damage. So you could take, you know, a smaller damage attack, like if your opponent's boosted a Vile Seizing, or if they've boosted a Twisting Azure Inferno to high heaven. You can lose 4 health, and it doesn't do you any damage, and they stuff the top card of their discard pile into their card pool. Or you can just discard Runaway to play any of these fun little attacks from your discard pile. Moving on to our foundations, we have Adaptable Anatomy, a 1/5 with a +2 mid block. It says response, flip, after you completely block this attack, it deals no damage. So this is another good thing for Twisty Surroundings. When dealing with throws, you can change the zone of their throw to match one of your block zones, fully block it, and then flip this so that you don't take any damage from that throw. because we are such a squishy 7-hand size character, throws are the bane of our existence. So, really useful defensive piece here. Then we have Arrogant Fighter, a 1 difficulty, 5 control with a +2 low block. It says, as a static, after this foundation is destroyed, seal one rival foundation. So, destroying this on your rival's turn with Elder Toguro to swap the speed and damage, you can then seal one of their foundations as maybe going to give them the most benefit during their turn if they've got something that's like repeatable damage boosting or repeatable speed boosting. That's just really fun to use. And then it has as an enhance, mill 1. So you just discard the top card of your deck. So if you know it's going to be a bad check, you can get that bad check off the top of your deck. We like playing attacks from our discard pile anyway, so this is kind of a good best of both worlds. Plus it's got a nice 2 low block. Then we've got Deadly Ruthlessness, a 2/5 with a +2 mid block. It says enhance, check a 4, so the cost is making a control check of 4, and you are allowed to commit foundations to pass said check. If this attack deals damage, your next attack this turn gets +1 damage. So really good at layering on the staggering boosts of your damage. If your opponent cannot fully block a Shapeshifting Impalement, and they take the 3 damage, then you echo Shapeshifting Impalement. This one's going to be 7 mid 4, or however many Deadly Ruthlessnesses you've used. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's the plural of it. So if you use multiple of this card and just check 3 4s, your next attack gets +3 damage if this attack deals damage. Notice it does not say non-throw, so a throw deck with Elder Toguro is also a interesting little space that we could be looking at, especially for things that can boost throw speed, but not necessarily throw damage. Looking at you, Gunhead. But, moving on. We have Immortal Shapeshifter, a 2 difficulty, 5 control with a +3 high block. It says response, check 5. After one or more of your foundations are destroyed, gain 1 health. So, since we do have some stuff that's causing us to pay health, to lose health as a cost, this allows us to win some of that back. And then enhance, destroy 1 foundation, so fueling our response with our enhance. And the enhance is this attack gets +1 damage. So boosting our damage and fueling our response to try to gain more health. So all in all, really fun card. Next we have Paying the Cost. Speaking of losing health, it's a 1/4 with a +3 mid block. It says enhance, lose 1 health, your attack is +1 damage. So again, we can try to either stagger a bunch of these low damage attacks so that when we flip the speed and damage, we're getting more speed, or when we flip something like a Deadly Fire to a 7 mid 4 instead of a 4 mid 7, we can now stack more damage on that 7 speed move to try to make it even more consequential to hit. Next up we have Invincible Body as a fun little one-of. A 3 difficulty, 5 control with a +4 mid block. It says first enhance, reduce this attack's damage to 0. So as your first enhance during this enhance step, and mind you, you can pass your enhance during your rival's attack until they've, say, boosted their attack until it's way too high, and then as your first enhance, remove this card to reduce it to 0. So you can always just look across the table at your opponent and be like, okay, how much are you willing to invest in this attack before I shut it down? And you can either reduce the damage of the attack to 0 and not worry about it, or if they're able to boost it, 1, 2, or 3 down from like a 6, you can then swap the speed and damage to then make it very easy to block. So either way, it's a win-win for you. Then we've got Toguro's Dominance, a 2 difficulty, 5 control with a +2 mid block, ally and unique. It says response, destroy. After your rival plays an ability on an asset or foundation, destroy it. So this is really good for against cards like Twisty Surroundings, League of Villains, or any of these incredibly powerful foundations. And the destroy cost will help pay for your Immortal Shapeshifter. And then it has Team Toguro Enhance, flip, your rival discards 1 momentum. Like I said, momentum is going to be very useful going into this format with all these echo cards and face-up momentum tricks. So being able to kind of get a handle on your opponent's momentum is very, very useful. Excuse me. Next up, we have Defending Pageant Queen, a 2 difficulty, 5 control, plus 3 high block. It says enhance, remove, reduce this attack speed to 1. So either we make this incredibly blockable, or if we don't have any cards in our hand, maybe our opponent discarded the last of our cards because they're Bakugo 4 or something, we can remove its to set its attack speed to 1, and then flip its speed and damage by destroying a foundation. We take 1 damage. Pretty simple. Next up, we have Cooperation Offer, a 2/5 with a +3 mid block. It says enhance, flip, return this attack speed to it. Return this attack to its printed zone. This attack gets -3 speed. And then enhance, commit. If this attack was played from anywhere other than your hand, it gets +2 damage. We do play cards from places other than our hand, so the +2 damage could come in handy, but it's mainly here for the defensive flip to give your opponent -3 speed, or, if needed, -3 damage. And that's what I like about his ability is, depending on what you're able to do, what the look of your hand is, because say you have a lot of stuff that's committed, and you just have a couple of these speed drops, but you don't have like the right block zones, you can then just swap the speed and damage and take less damage outright. So his ability is very flexible on defense, not just offense. Next up we have Energy Suction, a 1 difficulty, 5 control with a +2 low block. Static that says this card does not count towards progressive difficulty to play attacks, and it has a response in your card pool. After your attack deals damage, gain a health. So for cards like our Shapeshifting Impalement that count as 2 attacks, Deadly Fire can become incredibly fast, and we are losing a lot of health with some of our costs, so to be able to recoup that just by letting our attacks hit is really fun. Next up we have Larceny, a 1 difficulty, 5 control, +2 mid block. It says enhance, if this attack was played from anywhere other than the hand, it gets +1 or -1 damage. So this is not only good to give our attacks a +1 from playing it from the discard pile, playing it from Echo, but also if our rival uses Echo, or has some play from the other zones gimmick, we can give -1 to their damages, or flip that to -1 to their speeds. Then we have Convenient Timing, one of my favorite defensive foundations. It's a 2/5 with a +2 mid block. It says response, discard 1 momentum. After you block with this card, your rival's checks get -1 for the rest of this turn. This is breaker on every single card they play for the rest of the turn by blocking once. You block a critical card at the beginning of the turn, you can set their entire rest of their turn up for failure. It is such a good card, and a little bit overpowered for a common in my view, but I absolutely adore it. And then enhance, flip, add 1 card from either player's discard pile to the bottom of their deck. If your opponent's needing cards out of their discard pile, like Yusuke's Spirit cards, for example, you can put that card on the bottom of their deck and be like, you don't get that. Next up, we've got a fun Asui's Friendship, a 2/5 with a +4 high block. It says response, commit. After your ranged attack deals damage, your rival commits 2 foundations. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different ranged attacks in our kit, and we can pick and choose any of them from the discard pile to play. So this is just a really fun, if your attack deals damage, your rival is going to commit 2 foundations so that all your other attacks get to deal more damage. We've got Quick to Act as a 0 difficulty, 5 control with a +3 low block. It says if your current health is less than half of your maximum health, this attack gets 1 speed. Like I said, we're very frail. We can take hits really poorly, but we do have a way to kind of mitigate that, and we have a lot of health payment costs. So we're able to maybe manage our way down to that 10 or 9 health in order to give our attack speed, which helps if we're trying to fish for more damage, or fish for more damage so we can give more speed to a Deadly Fire and then flip it, and then we're gaining more that way. But then we have Bench Press, which is a very fun evil card in my opinion. A 2 difficulty, 5 control with a +3 low block. It says enhance, if you have lost health this turn, your attack gets +1 damage. If you've even lost 1 health during your turn for, say, 1 paying the cost. All of your attacks get +1 damage for the rest of the turn. So this is a lot of damage you can throw onto all of your attacks, and it really stacks up. As someone who's stuck this in Endeavor 2 on Evil, this card pays so many dividends it's not even funny. I wish me and my wife had been able to pay her student loans like this card pays dividends. It's insane. And then it also has an enhanced flip. If this attack deals damage, gain 2 health. So if you know your attack's going to hit and you just need an extra boost in your health, this can gain you that health. Or if you know you're not going to be able to block your rival's attack, this can mitigate some of the damage if you survive it. Whoops. I don't know what I just did. Oh. I just went back somehow. Oh, weird. Again, sorry for technical difficulties, but I don't edit. Next up we have Surviving the Final, a 0 difficulty, 5 control with a +3 high block. And once per turn, as an enhanced, this attack is -1 speed. What is there to say about that? That it's just simple speed hate. Then we've got Fruits of Our Labors, a 1/5 with a +2 low block. We saw this in the Chew deck. Enhance, Rival's turn. Remove, discard 2 cards from your card pool. So this can help discard our blocks if need be, to continue blocking, or it can discard cards that Kurama stuffs in our card pool because he's a jerk. And then Deadlock, Form, Flip, your rival builds 1 card from their hand face down. Yes, they get 1 extra foundation, but they also lose a block out of their hand, which is really solid. And then Advice for Winners, a 2 difficulty, 5 control with a +3 high block. It says response, flip, after you check a printed 3 to play a card, recheck. So this attack says we checked an attack on one of our big damaging attacks. We get to recheck and try to check a foundation instead. So as a flip cost, pretty good, especially when we're going for like a 5 or a 6 or a 5 with progressive difficulty, and we really need to make sure we check good to try to kill our rival. But that being said, that is the complicated day 0 of Elder Toguro. Pretty even block spread there. Like I said, this guy's the hardest to do just a snap judgment build, simply because his abilities are simple, but he has such a high ceiling and such a vast network of things he can do, different strategies and combos. He's just so flexible that it's hard to get a good grasp on like a simple day 0 build. So that's why this one feels a bit choppier compared to the other ones, I think. And I freely admit that. But this is what I could come up with, knowing that I had 16 plus of these to do within a week. So hopefully it's a fun jumping off point for you guys. That's kind of what I want these day 0s to be. Just fun jumping off points, maybe something to get the gears turning if it's a character that you were looking into that you maybe didn't quite know off the top of your head what your goal going in was. But like I said, I've got a lot more of these to do, so until next time, guys, take care.